This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Friday, September 5th, 2025, and we're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I will be joined by Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net as we speak about the closing markets and also take a little bit of a look ahead to next week's USDA report. But first, it is my conversation with Mitch Heisler of Wyffels Hybrids as we learn about the latest innovations from Wyffels and what the season has been like for Wyffels customers.
Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Mitch Heisler. We are at the Wyffels Hybrids setup at the Farm Progress Show 2025 in Decatur, Illinois. And Mitch, could you remind me, please, your job role at Wyffels?
Yeah, I'm the product and agronomy manager. I get to work with our agronomy team and talk a lot about our products.
And speaking of agronomy, Mitch, we're getting to that stretch run, kind of that final run of the growing season. What have been the hot topics that you've been hearing a lot about here this year?
Certainly thinking about our customers that we work with in Iowa, I think disease has been one of the main topics of the summer. Being extremely wet, we've gotten a lot of rainfall, well above average in most of the state, and even some historical levels in some places. And so we've had that wet, warm environment that's very good for disease. So, some of the things we've been seeing, I've heard some people say it's kind of a potpourri of disease out there. So we got a little bit of everything, some gray leaf spot, some northern corn leaf blight. We are seeing some tar spot. I would say two ones that are maybe the big talking points just because we don't see them as often. Number one being southern rust. That's one that doesn't overwinter in the Midwest, has to blow up in storms every summer. And we've had a couple years in a row now where we've seen it be above average, and I would say even more so this year. Another one being bacterial leaf streak has been a big one that can sometimes be misdiagnosed as gray leaf spot, but given the very wet weather, that's one that we've seen more. It's not quite as concerning just because it's not quite as aggressive as southern rust, but those have been the big talking points for the summer for sure.
And speaking of southern rust, you're right. We've heard a lot about it this summer. We've heard it widespread across the state of Iowa, even into parts of northern Iowa, which hasn't typically been the case in past years. So when it comes to Wyffels, does it have that protection built in against southern rust? What is that process like when you have a disease that is affecting an area that it normally isn't?
Yeah, I do tell this story somewhat jokingly. Someone on my team that works up in Minnesota saw it last year, and I told him then, this is one of those you probably won't see again for 20 years, and now he's got it again. So it's something we always try to get good observation on, and when we have it move in, we get a lot of chance to see different products and how they respond. I would say the thing that I always take some solace in with southern rust is fungicides are very effective at controlling it. We do have different levels of tolerance throughout our lineup, and certainly, can help people understand that. But from a management standpoint, I would say our management recommendation is the same across all products, just because it is one that moves in, and when it does, it can be pretty aggressive. It's spreading. It doubles itself every 7 days, and so we want to make sure we get a fungicide applied in the cases when southern rust moves in. And like I said, we have very good effectiveness at controlling and very good residual on control with the fungicide on that disease.
Mitch, if we were standing right now by a field of Wyffels corn and you were to say, hey, look at this field right here, this is Wyffels brand, and I know why, what would be your selling points for this point of the growing season? We're starting to dry down, and when you would have some Wyffels in front of you, what would you be selling to the customer to say, hey, this is what sets us apart?
I think, we pride ourselves on, we understand our customers that we're working with. I mean, this is their livelihood, and so it's a very serious decision when they choose their seed supplier that they're going to work with. And so we obviously know we need to be bringing the horsepower of top performing products. But I think some things that, to me, I would talk about is you look across our lineup, we have outstanding diversity within our lineup. So we've got products that I feel like we can really help provide choice to our customers on really digging in, understanding what their unique needs are, maybe what's their management practices, what are the pest pressures they're facing, what are the disease pressure they see each year. And then we've got a diverse portfolio, a lot of different trait options, even also available as non-GMO, some top genetics that I think we can really build a package that fits the whole farm. So that's what excites me the most. I think we have a very deep, strong portfolio, and I think something else that we know is we have to perform, but we also take a lot of pride in, and we have a corn breeding and research team that spends a lot of time in the field trying to understand the little intricacies of each product and how we can get the most out of them. And so we try to then provide as much of that as we can and really be a resource throughout the season, not just up until hybrid selection, but all the way through the season on how to get the most out of those products.
And Wyffels, as we know, an independent company. How many customers do you have come up to you and talk about how much they appreciate that, the fact that you are an independent company? And like you said, it probably goes back to some of those things you talked about, sticking with that customer kind of through the finish line.
I think we hear it a lot because I think, and that's what they tell you directly is, we need someone like you. We need an independent option in the seed business. That's what drives us every day. We feel like not only, can we help our customers be more successful, but we feel like they need choice in this industry. And so that's what we're very passionate about. The Wyffels family is very dedicated to this business, continuing to invest in the business because, they see, it's somewhat an obligation to make sure that we're providing choice and something that we're proud to do each and every year. I think, something that we think we can do a little bit different or better is we can make long-term customer-focused decisions. We're really focused on what's going to be the best for our customer because we know if they're growing, we're growing with them. So that's something that really drives us too, and something that I think we can bring as an independent U.S. farm family-owned option.
Here at the Wyffels exhibit at the Farm Progress Show, we're right next to a big stage, lots of drums out in front, and it says, "Make some noise, plant Wyffels." What is the message behind that, Mitch?
Yeah, I think it ties right into what we were just talking about with independence. Our thing here is, like I said, we're an independent U.S. farm family-owned company, and we're really challenging farmers across the Corn Belt to make a statement, make some noise, plant Wyffels, support an independent company. We feel like we've got an outstanding lineup of products, as I mentioned. We've got great people representing it, and I think on top of that, we always like to say you can have your cake and eat it too. We try to be easy to do business with and put the customer first, and so it's a challenge really to farmers in the Central Corn Belt. Make some noise, plant Wyffels, and let's be successful together.
And it wasn't too long ago I had a chance to check out the new Wyffels distribution site, which is in Ames, and it's a very impressive facility. So showing that commitment to Central Iowa right there for sure from Wyffels and their surrounding area. Mitch Heisler with Wyffels, my guest here today at the Farm Progress Show. Mitch, thanks so much for the time. Always appreciate it, and have a great rest of the show.
Thank you. It was good talking to you.
Thank you to Mitch Heisler of Wyffels Hybrids for joining today's show. It is time now for our closing market coverage. I will be joined by Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net next. But first, a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soybean Checkoff.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Time now for the closing markets here on Ag Matters PM, and I'm joined now by Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net. Curt, getting ahead of the USDA report, which will be released next week. How did we trade in the grains here today?
Yeah, the market doldrum. We held in there most of the day. In the tail end, we saw some, I think, pre-weekend hedge pressure take place. Corn was down 1.5 cents. They were down 1 to 2 cents on the weekly chart. Beans down 6.5 on the weekly chart, 27.5. Wheat finished mixed. It was down 15 cents on the week. I think we saw some pre-weekend hedge pressure come in late here in the day. But yeah, next week we'll see what the WASDE crop production numbers are. We'll have trade estimates out first part of next week. The Stone X was 186.9 on corn, 53.2 on beans, just a little lower than the USDA numbers there in August. S&P, they used to be Informa and Sparks back in the day. They were 189.1 and 53.8. So they kind of feel a big crop keeps getting a little bigger. So we'll see what that shows in the next week. But coming in today, we saw California Senate pass a bill allowing the sale of E15. We saw a decent export sales report this morning. Corn, 2.1 million metric tons. The beans was 818,000 1,000 tons. Along with that, we did see some daily sales of unknown destination. And that's hopefully maybe China is starting to come into the marketplace here, Mark.
And Curt, we focused a lot lately on the soybean demand side and, of course, worrying about China and thinking about what's going to happen with the deal there down the road potentially. But on the corn side, we're still seeing that demand pretty much in a good spot, aren't we?
Huge. I mean, it's unbelievable. We're twice what we were a year ago on the bookings thus far. So that corn demand is robust. Mexico, they have all those feeder cattle down there they need to feed. This ethanol demand's still very, very strong. So at least the first half of the market here, we look for corn demand to remain very active. The key now is corn yields. We're hearing highly variable yields. Thus far, kind of a little bit of disappointment. I don't know where Carroll County, Iowa is, but some silage adjusters came in at 190 bushels and they were looking for about 250. So the big thing is coming week with a really nice forecast. We'll start getting some real actual physical yield results to see what happened. Locally, through here, we're just getting started here, and we'll have numbers for you next week.
Curt, I'll help you out with your Iowa geography. That's going to be kind of in that northwestern corner of the state of Iowa in Carroll County. Let's talk about the other side of the livestock, or of the trade rather, the livestock markets. How did cattle and hogs trade today?
I'm going to have you on my Iowa trivia team, Mark. Thanks for the help there. We'll see. Seasonally, Labor Day demand, things kind of slow down. We are getting confirmation, feeding the heavier weights on the daily chart. Fats closed down 97 to $1.35. On the weekly chart, down over $3. We're seeing buying hogs, selling cattle, unwinding that spread. Hogs were up 55 to $1.02. They were up about 90 cents on the weekly chart. Main thing about pork, we got pork month coming up here in October.
He is Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net, my guest here for the closing markets on Friday. Curt, what's the best way for our viewers to get in touch for more marketing information?
1-800-779-1515 is our number here locally, but you can go to agmarket.net and click on Intel.
Thanks so much for the time here today, Curt. Always appreciate it, and have a great weekend.
Very good. Stay safe.
Thank you to Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net for joining today's episode of Ag Matters PM. Let's take a look at the closing market numbers. You can find that information anytime under the Markets tab of our website at iowaagnet.com.
December corn closes down 1 3/4 at $4.18 even. November soybeans down 6 cents at $10.27. October soybean meal up 40 cents at $2.80.50. October soybean oil down 70 cents at $50.81. Chicago wheat down 1/4 cent at $5.19 1/4. Minneapolis wheat down 4 cents at $5.66. Kansas City hard red wheat down a penny at $5.05 1/4. December oats up 1/4 cent at $3.24 even. On the Merc, October live cattle down 98 cents at $235.98. September feeder cattle unchanged at $359.83. October lean hogs up $1 at $96.03. October pork cutout unchanged at $102.23. Class 3 milk down 12 cents at $17.65.
That wraps up our closing markets for today and brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can follow us on social media at Facebook and X, and you can listen to our morning, midday, and closing market podcast, as well as our daily episodes of our Iowa Ag Matters podcast at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, YouTube, and Podbean. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. For Riley Smith, Dustin Huffman, and Andy Peterson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.